Now, if say I had put on 65 or 75, you know, say I was putting on the KX 65, I would have put on a thin layer of 35 first as our bridging klister. Exactly. This is that bridging klister. So when we go warm, we want to have that layering. Okay. Yeah, that's the only time. But what I do want to talk about is what we had this year, and I want to talk about briefly overlays. And that's where we used Klister because it was primarily an ice track, or and that's when we used it. It was icy, it was firm, it had refrozen, and what did we get? We get, you know, a dusting of snow, or enough to make it be where if I went out, it could slow the ski. Klister isn't good for nice, you know, fresh white snow. That's not what it runs. So what happens is you get ice buildup and your skis slow and they stop gliding, and that's not what we want. So what we did oftentimes was you put a hard wax overlay, and it's not like putting 6 layers on like a regular Kickwax day. This is just one thin layer over the Klister. Once our Klister is set up and cold and no longer in a molten state or malleable state, we then just put one thin layer of usually the VR30, the blue, is what we would run, and that just keeps the Klister from picking up powder and icing up. So one more step, but that's it. I mean, it's not rocket science. Just know that if it's a Klister day and we've got a dusting of snow, and after someone goes out and tests, or if someone comes in and says, you know, Graham, I used the Klister like you said, and I was icing up, and you can then ask the question, well, was there any fresh snow in the track? Oh yeah, it snowed a half an inch. Well, that's all going to ski off, but there's going to be pockets of that, and by putting a thin layer overlay, we call it, that will address the snow in the tracks. And you'll still be kicking on your Klister, but that overlay will keep it from picking up the new snow.
So are you pretty much out of luck if you're starting a race and then it starts snowing, and you Klistered? It was a Klister day, and then it starts snowing during the race.
Yeah, I mean that's one of those things where that's where skis. Yeah, I mean people will. That's exactly right. You know, that's why I like the skin text. So, you know, if things get crazy all of a sudden, I still like to have the athletes. I tell them, hey, put your, you know, Dirty Harry on there, or your HF8BW, whatever the glide wax of the day is, because that does happen. And it's nice to know that you have some skis that could run in everything. And if that were the case, you know, it's really a question of, you know, how much snow is going to come and how long. How it happens, it'll be typically a Klister day. It'll have a half an inch of snow, or you'll see some clouds roll through it and it starts to flurry. It's not like it's dumping again. If the course was good and not refrozen and abrasive, you know, you probably would just switch out and just go with a Kickwax ski. That's what I would do. Mm-hmm. So yeah. So yeah, and that actually brings up, you know, a funny one, and that is, you know, Robin got second. Yeah, and she ended up going on a posi grip mechanical, you know, waxless pattern. So, you know, knowing your quiver and knowing, like, having that confidence to, I mean, that's a big race. That was one of her big races of the year. I mean, the marathons are what these guys train for, and that's a big one in Vermont. And for her to be like, yeah, I'm going to go on that ski is awesome. Mm-hmm. And then to get a second, you know, is in a very competitive field. And the other, you know, it's as hard as it gets. The only harder day we had this year was at the Bilcoke Festival in New Hampshire, and literally the Kickwax was changing. We were in Rangeley. We came back the next day, and everyone was like explaining that it literally changed every 5 minutes. Like, it was that. I mean, technicians were telling me, like, it was that It was that insane.
Yeah.
So kids were, you know, no glide, like walking on downhills because there was this much snow. You know, whereas some kids, some parents ran to the van and waxed the skis, and those kids had great races. So you know, skin tech on a day like that is awesome. So.